Welcome to Fun and Games Side Quests. Every episode is a different host sharing a video game they love and why they love it.
Hello, I'm Kieran Bennett. I'm an actor and I'm also the co-host of the Inks and Issues podcast on the Geekly Ink Network. I also DM the For Crits and Giggles podcast, which is a 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons podcast. And today, I'd like to talk to you about a game that is very near and very dear to my heart for a variety of reasons. And that game is TimeSplitters 2. I have played TimeSplitters 1, I have played TimeSplitters Future Perfect, but TimeSplitters 2 is really where the magic happens for me. And it all really kind of points towards, or I guess the blame lies with, my local video store. So I used to live probably 5 minutes or so from a video store that would do video game rentals for $2 for a weekend. So you could hire a game for $2 and it was yours until Monday morning. And so one Friday, my dad and I were down at the local video store hiring a whatever, and they had this game called TimeSplitters 2. And you know, my behavior had been good that week, so I was allowed to hire a game. I was less than 10 years old at this point. I should probably say I was not like in my mid-20s or something. And I was finally kind of getting to that age where instead of playing games and then kind of turning to my dad and being like, it's a bit scary, it's a bit hard, do you think you could finish this for me? That would be great, and I'll just watch. We were kind of getting to the point where my dad and I were searching out for games that we could play together. You know, we just recently purchased something called a multi-tap, where you could plug in more than one controller at a time, which was bananas, right? Like, that's just crazy. And so we were now looking, you know, for games that we could play together. And TimeSplitters 2, multiplayer. It even had co-op as well, which was crazy. And so we picked it up. So Dad said, you know, it seems a bit violent, so we'll see how we go. But, you know, it's co-op. We can play it together. And so we paid our $2. We took it home, booted that sucker up, and let me tell you what, that game is so good. We basically played it for like 2 days straight, and then when we went to go and return it to the shop, my dad paid full price, paid his $8 or whatever it was to have it for the entire fortnight, and we just rented it for another 2 weeks, and essentially played it like every other day for 2 weeks. And so I suppose a little bit of background. TimeSplitters 2, very simple premise, I suppose. You play as like a army colonel of some description who is attempting to stop the TimeSplitters from destroying history, and you're chasing them down at the start of the game, and they flee into the past and the future with the time crystals. And so you jump in the portal after them, and you kind of oh my god, what was that show? Quantum Leap. Yeah, like Quantum Leap. You kind of assume different guises, and you sort of go through all these different levels looking for the time crystal, and you know, there'll be different objectives that you have to kind of do, and when you pick up the time crystal, then the time splitters suddenly show up and they start, hurling lightning at you, and you got to run and find the time portal, and all the levels were basically the same, by and large. But for me, like the things that I really loved about it was, prior to playing this game, I'd played a lot of, Crash Bandicoot and Spyro, Disney's Hercules, played a lot of that too. But this, for me, was really kind of the first first-person shooter that I had played that wasn't, or the first-person shooter, the first first-person shooter, God, that's a mouthful, that I had played, but also the first game that I'd really played that wasn't really aimed towards, I guess, children. So, for me playing this, I was like, this is crazy. There's like multiple things to do. There's different ways that I can do things. I have to think about what I'm going to be doing next, as opposed to just kind of like pressing some buttons really fast and sort of hoping for the best, which was very much my approach for essentially every other game. And so this was like a whole new level of gaming for me. And, TimeSplitters 2, as it kind of goes along, like it starts off with like a Siberian level, and there's like a Wild West level, and each level has like a set of missions or objectives that you have to reach before the game will kind of allow you to get the time crystal and then finish the level. And so I remember just being like, this is crazy. I cannot believe that video games could be like this. And I remember actually having a similar revelation when I played the original Kingdom Hearts game, where I realized that games could actually have a story. So, a lot of my brain was kind of splattered over the walls as it was destroyed multiple times as a child. But for me, the probably the most significant part about TimeSplitters 2 was the fact that I played it with my dad, and like sharing kind of in that experience really brought us quite close together. And we haven't played TimeSplitters 2 in years and years, because it only ever released on PS2, and we haven't had our PS2 set up in quite a while. But we still talk to this day about playing TimeSplitters 2, and we still to this day reference things that happened in the game or misquote lines from the game very badly, and talk about like our experience of playing that game together. Because father and son, we're very similar, but we're also very, very different in that my dad is a very kind of measured person. I'm not. And so, playing video games together was quite an interesting and varied experience. But, I think it really kind of helped us helped us become closer, and kind of in a way helped us sort of like understand each other a little bit better, and that even now carries into the present day, and we still play video games together, not as much as we used to, unfortunately, because we both have jobs now. But whenever we can, we play video games together, and it's just such a nice bonding experience to kind of to just share that together. And I think TimeSplitters 2 will always hold a very close place in my heart, just because it's a fun game and I like it, and it has little challenges, and the difficulty levels are all different, and obviously we completed the game on every difficulty level because we played it so much. But I think for me, it'll definitely be one of those things that every time I think about that game, or every time I go back and play it, or I read anything about it, it'll always remind me of my dad. And, for me, that's just really nice. And I have a few other games that are like that, but TimeSplitters 2 is definitely the biggest one out of all that. And I think sometime in the future, he and I are going to have to set the PS2 up again and crack out our copy of that game, and maybe blast our way through time once again. So until next time, happy gaming.
Hi, I'm Matt, aka Stormageddon, and I'm the host of CPOV Autographs at CertainPOV.com. It is a bi-weekly interview series where I interview folks from all over the arts, from writers to comedians to magicians to musicians, even actors, historians, podcasters, pretty much anyone who's willing to chat with me for a little bit. If you like interesting conversations with even more interesting people, go to CertainPOV.com or wherever you get your podcasts. And remember, music is life, and life is good.
CPOV. CertainPOV.com.